there's a lot of shots in curling where the difference between the perfect shot and the worst outcome ever is a half an inch.
So what makes somebody good at curling?
Hand-eye coordination is key, understanding balance, but when it comes to separating, the club curlers from the elite curlers, it comes down to is more often than not the mindset. Everyone will have put in enough reps to be able to make all the shots on the ice, but making those shots in the most pressuresome moments really separates that crowd.
Do you think people realize how difficult it is?
It's way harder than it looks, for sure. A lot more balance than you think it takes. Just like figuring out how to throw a rock and like get it all the way down to the other end. Because it's like 140 feet long. Like, it's not a short distance.
It's 140 feet? I would have, seeing it on TV, I would have thought that was 30 feet.
And the rocks aren't light either. They're like 42 pounds solid granite. And it's all about like speed control. Like, you're trying to slide out at a very specific speed. And we use stopwatches to time ourselves when we're throwing. So if you're sweeping someone's rock, you time it from like a certain line to a certain line. And we're trying to throw like, we're able to throw, say, like a 3.95 throw, and then go from that to like a 3.90 throw. Like within like 5 milliseconds, we're able to adjust our speed to the right type of speed that we need to be throwing.
You can make those small of adjustments. Like, can you really tell the difference? Like, oh, that throw was 3.92. This one, the next one needs to be 3.98. Like, oh, I was six milliseconds long on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even this morning I was doing a drill with my teammate Aiden. I would sit down I'd get ready to throw, and Aiden would say, okay, throw a 2.25. And then if I got it within 0.02, then he would move on to the next one. And then I would tell him, okay, throw a 2.1. And like we would throw it and be like, oh, I think I threw it too hard. I think I threw it too hard. And then look back, and instead of the 2.1 we were going for, it'd be 2.15, which is too fast. And so like we can feel our bodies and how fast they're going. And that's like the main goal of the drill, is to basically be able to tell like how fast your body is moving down the ice and just have a sense for like the speed that you're going.
So what's like the overall strategy? Like, what are you fundamentally trying to do?
I'll give you some basic strategy. So there's 8 rocks that each team throws, and you alternate. So like if we throw first, then the next team goes, and vice versa. If you are the team that throws last, it's called having the hammer. So like if my team throws first, then the other team has hammer, because if you go back and forth, then the other team is going to end up throwing last. So if you have the hammer, the main objective is to kind of keep the middle of the sheet open so that you can make that last shot and get multiple, and just basically keep it open for that last. So you draw all the play basically to the sides of the sheet rather than the very center. And vice versa, if you don't have the hammer, then you kind of want to plug up the center as much as possible and make sure that it's as hard for the team with hammer as possible for them to score on their last shot. But that is like the absolute basics. There is like so much that goes into it. Even the strategy is evolving. Like, you're seeing new rules coming out that change up the strategy. So it's changing on a yearly basis, but people call it chess on ice for a good reason. Like, no two ends are almost ever exactly the same. And an end is when all rocks have been thrown.
Better to be a good thrower or a sweeper?
A good thrower.
Is sweeper even close, or is it like, no, thrower by a mile?
Oh, it is. It is. Sweeping's very close. Sweeping's become such an important piece of the game, especially with how effective we have become as sweepers.
That's actually part of the controversy that's happening a little bit right now with the sweeping in our sport is people are getting so good at sweeping and so good at the techniques involved with it that it's taking the throwing part a little bit out of it. So like the sweeping is very important, but like at the heart of curling, people say that the throwing is the important part. Like the sweeping, you should be able to make the shot with like 80% throwing and then the last 20% with the sweeping. It shouldn't be like 50-50. The sweeping is just like to help it out a little bit, The throwing is like the main part of the sport.
Can the people who are sweeping can they tell what needs to be done, or does somebody else have to be telling them what to do? Does that make sense?
It does, and that's a really good question, because it's a little bit of both. As a sweeper, you are primarily responsible for the speed of the rock. So, say we're trying to throw one right in the middle of the bullseye, which we call the house. If whoever threw it not hard enough, then we need to sweep it to get it there, because that's, sweeping makes it go further. So that's our responsibility. And then if, say, they throw it too hard, then we don't sweep at all, because we just need it to slow down. Where we don't have any control and where we need something to be decided for us is the line of the shot. So like the trajectory of where the rock is going. So on the team, you have the skip who's standing at the other end and calling all the shots. He's the one that's watching the line. So say that there's a rock that we're trying to go around, but we're getting like really too close to it. Like we're going to probably touch it and wreck on it. We need to sweep it to hold it straight. And that's what the skip is responsible for. And we can't see that at all. So the sweepers are responsible for the speed of the shot, but the skip is the one that's yelling at them like, hard, you got to go for line. You got to get past this rock. They're responsible for the line. So it's like half and half between the two.
Yeah. Speed, one trajectory.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Last time you fell.
I have actually more than you'd think close calls of like being able to also catch myself sort of like partial mid-fall. But my last like big spill, I also published online, and I was like taking my warm-up slide down sheet 8 of the Duluth Curling Club and was sort of getting up out of the slide, and my gripper foot was a bit greasy and it just sort of slipped out from under me, and I was, horizontal in the air, and everything just came smacking down onto the ice. And you see me sort of like getting up, looking left, because there was other curlers, in the club, like able to just hear the pound on the ice.
So a couple events ago, not too long ago, we went to an event in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. There's this Grand Slam circuit, kind of similar to like the PGA Tour for curling. And there was a Grand Slam event, and we were playing a game, and I was sweeping a rock and trying to make it curl, and my feet got caught underneath me, and I tripped forward. And if you hit the rock while you're sweeping, it's called burning the rock. Thankfully, I didn't burn it. I was able to kind of like move my arms around the rock so I didn't touch it. But funny enough, every slam event, they have what's called the whiff of the week, where they just compile these different, like, it's either like a really bad shot, somebody falls, somebody just does something kind of dumb. So I made the whiff of the week along with 2 other clips, and they did like fan voting for it, and it hasn't been released yet who's won it. I think actually very soon they're going to release. But if I win it, I get $1,000. So it's like I get money for being stupid, which would be kind of cool.
That seems worth it, honestly. Like I would be going for whiff of the week Oh, he fell again. Why does he always fall whenever we have this?
Yeah, weird. Why does he keep doing that?